This video is to show these templates in place to build a desk configuration very similar to this in the lower section. So in the lower section, just as it shows in the picture, there's going to be a 21-inch two-door base, a 19.5-inch three-drawer base, large small drawer, large bottom drawer, medium middle, small top drawer. And then the desk is going to be open 44 inches for seating, and that will have a locking rollout tray for additional workspace if needed. I marked on the wall template for the lowers where the outlet plate is located, and that falls right within the distance that we have for that open space. So we can drill a hole through the top leading down and put a black grommet over it, or a white grommet depending on how we finish things, to pass cords from a monitor down to a power supply. And then we match the right side on the left so it's symmetrical. 19.5 three-drawer base, large bottom, medium middle, small top, 21-inch two-door base. Now the tricky part for the installation, which I have to note here, is that this wall, which only comes out about 12.25 at the bottom, is so out of square, and this is typical for a smaller wall. This is just a 7-inch square, and see that gap back there? It's pretty substantial. So what that problem creates is a situation where if the top is going to rest against the wall without a scribe molding, which I always like to avoid, I lock in my template to measure out the irregular cut. So if it's 125 3/8 back there, it comes out. It's probably going to be 125 5/8 out here. So when I cut the top, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line from this point to this point, and that will be the dimension for the outside part of the top. From that corner over to this corner is 125 3/8. So I'll cut the top to match that, but that's just where the problems begin as far as setting everything on the top and still lining up properly. This wall is at the bottom, right where you see this piece here. This one that is screwed against the wall is 12.25, okay? So that means that the bookcase dimension, the depth for the bookcase needs to be 12.25. Up there, it's 12.5. So although you can't see it here, I've pushed that board that's up there away from the wall 1/4 inch. Because what we need to do is we need to bring the bookcase to the face of the wall. So the left vertical face frame for the bookcase has got to jog up against here. Now, this doesn't represent it because just the way that the template is built, but the face frame is going to run right along here. Okay, so the problems continue with that being out of square there and also here. This wall is off by quite a bit going that way. So my technique for doing that when I install will be to fasten a cleat to the wall, like I've done here, a temporary cleat. We'll lift the bookcase up into place, and we'll leave that gap that you see there against the ceiling temporarily, okay? So it's gonna be like a temporary install. We'll do that with this one, because this one's got the most problems as far as being out of square. And then the same size bookcase, which I don't have in place now, but it really doesn't need to be in place because I already know my dimensions, would go up here. Then we would gap it to make sure that there's enough gap for the crown molding to wrap and still have a good nailing surface. Then I'll install the bridge. So the stuff that needs to be joined together, and this here, how this face frame needs to come out even with the wall and also against the wall, we'll achieve all that without having to fight how things are going to fit against the floor. So if I can bind those 3 units together and then slide the base units in underneath it, then slide the top in between the gap in between the base units and the uppers, then I'll jog everything up from the floor. So I would shim under this unit, shim under this unit, shim under this unit, And what that would do is that would close all the gapping in between the top, the upper units, and then the top of the lower units. So we'll shim everything up and cover that gapping with shoe molding that can be applied going along these base units. This outlet makes it out, so I'm not worried about that. So as far as electrical work goes, the only thing we need to do is repath this light. So it's a switch that nobody really knows what it controls, but my unit's installing against this here, so we have to safely get rid of this. Also, we're gonna get an outlet placed in the floor, so I will look at the box in the plan for that before I get out of here. As far as the design of the bookcases, the only thing we need to determine is, I know the bridge width. What I need to determine is the bridge height. So in this picture, if you have an open bookcase, an open cubby on the bookcase on the top here, you could match that opening in the bridge, and then that would be the bridge. There's another design where this is flat going across. The only thing I would need to know is the elevation or the height of that flat part and the bridge. And we're going to change this depth to 14.25, which is 2 inches deeper than the 12.25, which are going to be the bookcase depths. So this is the only part of the design that I have yet to figure out.